This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And joining me right now is Andrew Fox. He is the founder and CEO of CRGE Enterprises, Inc. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is CRGE in the US. Andrew will also be doing a presentation at our upcoming virtual event, the Planet MicroCap Showcase Virtual, happening April 20th through 22nd. So be sure to check that out. Andrew, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
Oh, I think we got similar backgrounds. I mean, yours is a bit more real than mine, but we're gonna make it work.
We're both in LA, so I like your background a little better than I like mine. So I'll enjoy your background.
We'll let the audience decide, digital or real. We'll let them decide. But Andrew, again, thank you for doing this today. And since this is our first time doing an interview together, I'd love to start off with a quick overview and history of CRGE, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I was an early investor in Lime, the scooter company, and post that investment, I saw the Achilles heel of the entire micromobility and even the electric vehicle movement was there was just a lack of infrastructure. And given kind of my composition of starting businesses that are kind of in the unglamorous space or doing the unglamorous work in the glamorous space, I felt like it was the right time in 2019 to start an infrastructure company dedicated specifically towards infrastructure for electric vehicles and micromobility. And so we're a little over 2 years old. We have operations in 19 countries. We're on a revenue run rate this year to do about 500 million of revenue. So we're not a small company anymore, and we've got a lot of really good things going on.
All right. Well, okay. We have many rabbit holes we can go down right there. So tell me a little bit about the infrastructure that you're building. What charging stations? What are we talking about?
Yeah. So what we see is kind of this evolution of electric vehicles. Volvo, Porsche, these big companies are announcing their entire fleets are going to be electric. So the infrastructure demand for electric vehicles is skyrocketing. Domestically speaking, America needs somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 million charging stations a year over the next 10 years just to meet the current demand. And so I like to say we're kind of the guys doing the pickaxe and shovel work in the Wild West of electric vehicles. And so the work that we do creates great jobs. Our expectation is as the EV movement continues to evolve, we want to be kind of the definitive leader in putting the infrastructure in. And what does that mean? That means actually digging the hole, putting the actual system in, and then service and maintaining it once it's in. And we see the value proposition there as significantly more valuable in the ecosystem than trying to come up with the next electric vehicle, or for that matter, even the next electric charging system. We like being the guys who implement the first generation of system. And then when there's a second generation of system, we'll rip that one out and put the second generation and so forth. And so we're really the guys who do the unglamorous work in this field.
So tell me a little bit about the business model then. So do you talk with, the Volvos, the GMs of the world? I mean, I don't want you to say the customer names if you're not allowed to, of course, but, are you working with companies like that to help build out the infrastructure, or what's the model?
Yeah, so I think our expectation is kind of the long pole in the tent, so to speak, for the electric vehicle charging companies and even the automotive manufacturers is that once someone buys their product, they're kind of left to their own trying to figure out how to install their charging systems. And so that's where we fit it. And so what we do is we say, hey, we've got a turnkey solution. You buy your system from Volvo or General Motors or ChargePoint, and we're the guys who will implement the infrastructure install for your charging ports. And so once again, it's a very new market where those time people last night were in the kind of the top half of the first inning in this, if you were using an analogy to baseball. So we're just so early. Domestically speaking, we have about 100,000 charging stations, and so we need 10 million. So you could just see kind of this is going straight up. And so the world that we play in is doing that unglamorous work of actually hooking up the systems, and then we have a reoccurring revenue that we maintain those systems for the electric vehicle companies or the charging companies. And so that's our business model. It's not, it's not very rocket scientist-ish, but that's what we like about it is it's very simple to understand.
Absolutely. So I would imagine there's a number of other companies out there that are working on also building out this infrastructure and putting in charging stations. So what would you say makes CRGE unique and different compared to your peers out there?
Yeah, so the beautiful thing in this is this is not a traditional point of difference business that you have to have a significant point of difference over somebody else. The electric vehicle infrastructure market is growing like straight up. And so for us, our tactical approach is employee safety and training. And that's the critical component for us as we see it is that maniacally training our staff. And there's going to be a tremendous amount of displacement because of automation, AI, and driverless technology. And so we see these are not jobs that you can outsource overseas. These are local jobs that we're creating. And so our big point of difference is the way that we treat our employees, the way that we train our employees. And we have this acronym that we use that we treat everybody like a peer. We're prompt, we're ethical, we have empathy, and we're reliable. And we beat that home from me on down. Every single employee in our organization understands that that's our point of difference, how we treat people. Because the reality is today, there's so much business right now to get in this kind of electric vehicle infrastructure space that what's the real point of difference? It's not how you dig a hole. It's not how you apply for a permit. It's how you train your employees and how you treat your employees and your vendors alike. And so that's our big point of difference.
Look, man, I'm going to push back. Like I can dig a hole pretty nice versus somebody else. All right. Like, there's a
Absolutely.
big point of difference with digging a hole. No, I'm just kidding. But,
No, but how you train people, by the way, and this is
sure.
the interesting part of this, not to interrupt you, but the variance cost on a charging system between provider A and provider F is like 10 or 15% variance in the cost, but the cost for the install is like 300 or 400% variance. And so that actually contributes to people actually not wanting to adopt electric infrastructure as fast as we could. And so that's the big part that we're fixing. And we anticipate as we fix that, and there are other parts of our business that I really haven't gotten into, but as we fix that, the reoccurring revenue off of those systems is a very nice piece of business, especially when you're talking about its scale. But at the end of the day, if you don't treat your workers right and train them properly, you don't have a business. And so that to me is the biggest point of difference as we see things. And I think you'll start to see us evolve more with that as we get more mature in this industry. But the way I see it is that we want to have the best practices that we're bringing to this infrastructure side of it. Whereas today it's a lot of fragmentation and mom and pops.
Absolutely. So you mentioned your background a little bit earlier about how, you started the company a couple of years ago. You have a background in doing the picks and shovels kind of businesses, so tell us a little bit about that background and how it led to then starting Charge.
Sure. So I have a business that I've been involved with for 25 years. It does commercial real estate office cleaning, and that business has become an unbelievable annuity stream for me that allowed me to start a whole bunch of other businesses along the way in the entertainment space. And then once I started stepping back from the day-to-day operations of things, I started enjoying the early stage investing, and that's really how I caught Lime, the scooter company. And what was the impetus for this idea was, if you're around LA, you see those scooters like littering the sidewalks everywhere. And I was scratching my head saying, there's gotta be a better way. You can't destroy the integrity of your city by trying to bring this new form of transportation. And so we originally started kind of on the infrastructure for micromobility. What we saw is that the electric vehicle side was much larger, and the electric vehicle side isn't just, I mean, you think about four-wheel cars today and two-wheel devices with micromobility, but the infrastructure for charging is going to change exponentially. And in the future, I believe they're going to be automated autonomous vehicles that wake themselves up and drive to our charging stations at off-peak hours. And so we're really at this very unique cross section in that providing the infrastructure for electric vehicles and being a specialist in that is going to enable us to really capture a wide part of the market. But we're not going to do a really solid job if we don't have best practices for employee training and how we staff things. And so our big point of difference is that really, and I've been doing that my entire career. My other business is all union. I believe in prevailing wage. We're not here to create low impact jobs. We're here to create really high quality jobs for communities. And as I said before, you can't outsource this.
So Andrew, to close this out here, from what you can tell us, what would you say are some of the company's growth drivers now moving forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest growth driver for us now is understanding the infrastructure bill from the federal government. The federal government is very proactive in electrification in the last mile. As part of the infrastructure bill, the secretary has talked about, the need for upwards of 500,000 federal charging stations across the United States. And my expectation is that, I'd like us to be, part of the execution plan to bring those high quality jobs here, and more importantly, build that network out. And so that's one of my biggest laser focuses right now, outside of our day-to-day private business. And, like I said, in kind of at the top of that interview, we're operating in 19 countries now. And so our expectation is that the domestic business opportunities here are significant, but we also see a global opportunity for what we're doing.
Very cool. Well, Andrew, with that, where can our audience go and find more information about Charge Enterprises?
Yeah, so head to charge.enterprises, or you can find us at CRGE online. If you just type in CRGE, you'll find our stock symbol and more about us. And thanks a lot, Robert. Appreciate it.
Oh, we really appreciate you. Thank you again for joining us. Good luck, stay safe, and I look forward to our next update.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great day.
You too.